Okay. Hello. Am I actually live now? I think that I am. I'm not even sure at this point. Um, Let me check if I'm actually live. Um, because the last 10 minutes have been a little crazy. So, um, just one moment. Let me see. Yes, I'm actually live right now. Okay, so this is a completely different um, thing that I'm doing. For the one person who's in the chat, can you hear me? Can you see me good? The TV is like, it's completely blown out. But yeah. So yeah, I set up the live stream and apparently I didn't do it right. So I had to set up a new live stream. Perfect. That's great. Thank you. Um, I had to set up an all new live stream and it was just, hey everybody. I had to set up an all new live stream because I didn't do it right. And I was like, like I was just trying to be as quick as possible, because I know there's people like, oh man, I gotta be on this. So that's great. And behind me is like, it's really hard to see, but there's like, it's a daytime scare zone walkthrough. I tried to put house walkthroughs, but then like the strobing was just blowing out my Mac camera. So, anyways, enough about this. Hello, everybody. How are you all doing? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to STREAMPORT Productions. I'm gonna trademark that. I'm doing well, Kaden. I'm doing really well. In the middle of editing tomorrow's video, or tomorrow probably. Tomorrow I'm probably going to be posting the video. It's almost done, but it's like a big sort of HHN roundup. I mentioned it in the Stranger Things one, but it's pretty exciting. So yeah, with this stream, it's really just casual, really, really chill, and it's gonna just be, we can do some Q&A. We can talk about, the elephant in the room, Stranger Things, just general HHN stuff, general theme park stuff, and just go about it from there. So don't forget about us who've been. Yes, I do not. Trust me. I appreciate everyone who's subscribed to the channel, everyone who's on the stream right now. Like the fact that there are people out there who like trust my ideas and like say, wait a minute, let me check this out. Let me give this guy some time, some of my time, because there's a lot of channels out there, a lot of channels, not just in the HHN sphere, but in like the theme park community. And it's just really, it's really humbling, and I'm really grateful for all of you. So yeah, definitely. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this stream in the first place, because, I wanted this to kind of be a celebration live stream about for 1,000 subscribers, but also, hopefully, so you all can get to know me a little more. Yeah. Okay. Kaden comes in with super excited for HHN this year. You might have mentioned it in the past, but what's your most anticipated, assuming spec maps are accurate? Okay. This is a really hard question because I'm actually going to turn this off because it is so bright. And yeah, anyway, sorry. Yeah. What is my most anticipated? As far as IPs go, definitely Stranger Things. I loved season 4. It was truly kind of a return to form for the show for me. I did really like season 3. I was one of the few people that really, really loved season 3, and just the atmosphere and the feel of it. And I kind of was a little disappointed by the house in that regard, the last house. But I mean, it was still a good time. All the Stranger Things houses are a good time. That's part of the reason why I'm so hyped for Stranger Things 4. But I think the originals, some of the rumored originals, they have me pretty hyped too. If the Dragon's house is like really like a Dueling Dragons themed house, because I know that's been talked about, that's super cool. That's definitely high up on my list. And even if it's not, just because I like medieval themed stuff, and I think a medieval themed house with like the kind of scale that HHN can bring, I think could be really cool. Also, that Crossroads house has had me interested since day one, just because I love that the story is just so fascinating. And I think it's a great sort of setup. Like the second I heard of the concept, I was like, that would be perfect for HHN. I think they could do really a lot with it. And then probably the last one would have to be Oddfellow, just because if it is an Oddfellow, or just like the circus house, but the rumors have been Oddfellow. It's kind of rewarding because I remember sort of seeing the initial speculation about Oddfellow and seeing that it might happen and kind of saying in the video, oh, Oddfellow would be so cool. And now that it's seeming to actually shape up to be an Oddfellow house, it's really, really super rewarding. So those are my most anticipated. I mean, I'm really anticipated for everything. Chucky too. I really loved Chucky as as a show. I did watch it after they did the announcement, and I had an appreciation for it. And I think I also had kind of the eye of like, oh man, this would be really cool if they brought it into the house, or this scene would be really great. And especially if it's rumored to be in Fast and Furious, I think that's a perfect place for it. So yeah, that's just a big long answer. I'm anticipating a lot of stuff when it comes to HHN this year. All right, so we got season 4 is by far the best. I know Universal won't let us down. I don't think so either. I think that because Stranger Things is such a big IP, and I feel like this is them putting a lot of their chips into this IP, and they're putting a lot of time into this. I think that they're going to really deliver and bring back Eddie. Yeah, I think Eddie's got to be here, right? Eddie's got to be there. I mean, he's in the poster. They said he's going to be there. So praying for all the Eddie scare actors, though. What do you think is next to be announced? What will Universal do? So I talk about this a little bit in the next video. So, and it's kind of a general thought and rumor, just because they have one more character to really go through. So they had Jordan in the Last of Us video. They had Sophia in the Stranger Things video, and we have Drew. And Drew hasn't had any kind of traumatic experience. We haven't seen what his traumatic experience is. So I feel like they're going to have to use Drew for something. And a lot of people thought that Sophia was going to be Universal Monsters. Excuse me. The Universal Monsters Paris house. That was going to be Drew, and Sophia was going to be... that was going to be Sophia, and Drew was going to be Stranger Things. Well, it's kind of the reverse. I think that Drew is going to be Universal Monsters Paris, and I think that's going to be the next one's announced. Just because that house has been one of the most consistent on every single speculation map that's been there for both Orlando and Hollywood. They do Universal Monsters houses every year, and I just think that one's coming next, just because they have that one more character, and they could use one more IP to throw it out before we get our originals towards the end of the announcement season. So I think Universal Monsters Paris with Drew, I think that's what's coming next for HHN at least. Let's see. The setting of a medieval house could bring some cool scenes. So I'm hoping it's true. Yeah, definitely. I think like just thinking of the period houses, I really love the period houses of HHN. Ghost Town was like the Western house, right? You had, I'm trying to think, like Deadman's Pier. I guess that's kind of a period house, but I wouldn't really consider that one. Gothic, that's like a good period house. So I feel like them doing a medieval, like really getting into it, that would be really great, and I think that could be really cool. So my number 1 so far is Chucky, followed by Stranger Things 4. I grew up watching Chucky, so it has the highest expectation for me. Yeah, and I think it's also been because we've had quite a few years since we've seen Chucky in a house. I think it was 2009 was the last time we had a Chucky house. So definitely excited to see Chucky. And again, I really liked that sci-fi show. The first season more than the second. I did enjoy the second season, but the first season was definitely more entertaining for me, and it was a lot more grounded. I think better for a more serious house, I guess. The second season's much more of like your comedy side of Chucky, without spoiling anything for those who haven't seen it. But I would suggest watching it before HHN, because I feel like they're going to pull some stuff from the show, and we might see some stuff from the previous Chucky films too. See, if it's true, I hope it gets a formal video announcement, because we're getting close to the yearly HHN Dump Day, which I'm quoting as the original Scare Zones and show announcements. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the dump, if you're asking me, just because, I mean, we've gone in the last 2 years, and it's really fun when it happens, because you're like, oh my gosh, here's original here, Scare Zone here, show here, boom, 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 all over the place. But then as the hype kind of dies down, you're like, okay, well, now we know everything. But I feel like the anticipation, for me, I'm someone who personally prefers originals. I know a lot of people do. A lot of HHN fans prefer the originals, at least here in Orlando. It's just a thing that I wish they would bring back the original announcements, because I feel like especially this year you have originals that could stand up. The Dueling Dragons medieval house, that could have been something worthy of an announcement. The Crossroads house, I think that would have been one that could have gotten some people interested. What else? The rumored Bigfoot Yeti, Swamp Yeti, whatever, that sort of house. That's definitely one that could have been, a good selling point. And, I think back to years like 29 and 28 and even like I think before that, but really 28 and 29, when you started seeing things like Slaughter Cinema getting like a full-on announcement video, Scary Tales, Dead Exposure, Patient Zero. I'm just quoting 28 because that's what I can remember off the top of my head. But doing that instead of just the dumps, I really miss the videos too, Caden. I really wish they would just go back to making those videos, just because it's a thing that has been talked about recently by a lot of the HHN community. People have been saying, hey, where is the where are the sort of marketing videos and just the general marketing videos? And especially, I didn't even mention Oddfellow. Like the fact that Oddfellow could very well be the icon of this year, almost like how the Pumpkin Lord was last year, but we've seen nothing from him. And part of me at first was like, okay, that's a marketing decision. And their marketing this year is being really cryptic, and it's not going to be as straightforward as you think. But we haven't seen anything. And the event's in a month and a half. So it's just like where's it at? Like what's the story? I don't really want Oddfellow as a big HHN character in HHN lore to be resorted to as just, oh, here's this house we have in the back of the park, and maybe we have a horde in the front. Like that would have been something really cool to put in the announcements and in the marketing. But that's been spoken about before. I just wanted to issue my sort of thoughts on it. I wish we did have more announcements of originals rather than just dumping them all. And also things like Nightmare Fuel, because, we're all pretty sure Nightmare Fuel is going to come back, right? It's just because it's a thing that I've heard they have some sort of contract. I don't know if that's exactly true or not. But either way, they're kind of a mainstay at the event at this point. And just announcing them and saying, hey, Nightmare Fuel's coming back. That could be a little drop that we could all get excited about, talk about for a little while, do a live stream about it, do a video about it, and then that's it. It's not like that's something I feel like everybody has to super hardcore wait for, and they have to keep this big mystery when it's something we all kind of already know is happening. But that's just one example. Also scare zones too, because I feel like scare zones, unless they're an IP scare zone, and I know we had like a Blumhouse scare zone rumor for this year, and a Megan, like that's a weird one too, because it's like, if Megan is a horde, why isn't that being announced like now? Or like even back when Megan was popular, just saying Megan's coming to Halloween Horror Nights. Maybe not even specify that it's a house, or I don't know. But there's a lot of confusion with this year and everything like that. So I have a few more questions in the chat. Do you think Merlin will be present in the Dungeons and Dragons house with the Lost Continent? Yeah, I think definitely. If they're going with the lore of the Lost Continent from Islands of Adventure, yeah, I think they're absolutely going to go with as many Easter eggs, as many references, as many inclusions to that lore as possible. Now, if they're trying to take it in a different spin, maybe not. But I see that if they're going with that, that's definitely something that they're going to want to include into it. I have heard a little bit about like there may be some kind of like fire and ice thing that's involved with the house, like more than just a cosmetic thing, like that's actually involved in the story. I don't know, but again, that's what I'm saying. Like you'd have to incorporate pieces like that are super important to the Dungeons and not Dungeons and Dragons, Dueling Dragons lore, and in order to make it, I think, really stand out as a Dueling Dragons house, not just make people go, oh right, this is Dueling Dragons, just because they wanted to cash in on it. And also, just saying, if we get Dueling Dragons stuff, let's see some Dueling Dragons merch, because it's been a while since we've seen any Lost Continent merch. I'm sure they saw with those Poseidon's Fury shirts that those flew off the shelf. So they made more for HHN specifically. That'd be pretty cool. Why do you think original mazes are less anticipated in Hollywood than Orlando? I'm from LA and I love original mazes, but theme park history videos mention IP. Theme park history videos mention IPs made Hollywood's more profitable. Now, I can't fully answer that question because I don't know as much about Hollywood's event. I've never been to Hollywood's event. I'm trying to go in the next coming years. It's just whenever it lines up for me. I do want to visit Hollywood's event, but I don't know. What do you think original pieces? I don't know if they're less anticipated, but I feel like the bases are different. Like, I feel like now they're starting to be more anticipated than they were before. Because I feel like there's been a paradigm shift, and this is just from me, an outsider perspective. I feel like there's been a paradigm shift in the last couple of years with the originals that a lot of and I feel like HHN fans, as the fandom grows, right, perspectives change. But I think that it's part of it is like, last year with Scarecrow, the light which went out. Last year with Scarecrow, a lot of people were talking about it as like the closest thing to an Orlando house in Hollywood. And I feel like there's that sort of that excitement around that house. And same thing with La Llorona last year, and to a lesser extent Horror Hotel, but definitely with Horror Hotel as well. There's like, a more of a willingness, I think, to see those original houses. And Hollywood is also an event that repeats stuff a lot. Like, even with originals, I know La Llorona, like, they've done that one a few times. And of course, with some of the IPs, I know that's the big controversy with The Exorcist, right? It's like they've already done that one 3 times or 2 times. This would be a 3rd time. Like they're very much like they kind of stick to their guns, and while Orlando's consistently changing it up for better or for worse, for better in my opinion. But anyway, yeah, I just think that it's like, Caden says here, yeah, I genuinely think that Hollywood audiences aren't used to them as much. Yeah, I think that's part of it. Like, it's just this idea of like this idea that the originals aren't as prevalent, and like I said, it's just with more exposure to originals, more things like Scarecrow and La Llorona and these houses that are really, really impressive and on almost the scale of an Orlando house, that people might see like, oh yeah, these originals are actually really cool, and we don't just have to have a bunch of IPs, because usually Hollywood has more IPs than Orlando. They usually have like 1 extra compared to Orlando in the past couple of years. So I think that's what it is. I think that's I think that's how that goes. And again, I'm not too sure. I don't know as much about Hollywood, but that's just my opinion. Do you think the writer strike is contributing to the lack of promotion? I'm not too sure if it directly is. I think, I don't know, the writer strike, and now the writers and actors strike, is something that's kind of encompassing a lot of just the entertainment industry in general, and Universal's kind of getting roped into this as a big major movie studio. I don't know how much it has to do with the theme parks, especially here in Orlando. You're not as close to that, like LA, the actual movie studios. So I don't know if that's directly impacting it. It might have some kind of like fringe impact, but I mean, promotion can be as simple as just saying, hey, we're going to throw together a little video of some walkthroughs, maybe a couple little shots of things that are happening at the event. Maybe we get a quick little clip of a Vecna or something scaring somebody, and let's say, oh, boom, Halloween Horror Nights, tickets on sale, come visit our event. Like, I don't know. I don't think it always has to be super elaborate, like, oh, let's create a whole storyline and do all this stuff. Now, they have been doing that recently, but I don't know if that's fully affecting it as much as it is. Like, I personally believe that the creators, also, the lighting is really weird. I'm so sorry. It's like literally a little lamp here. But it's just kind of a thing that the creators are also doing a lot of marketing for them. Like, I feel like this season more than ever, there's been so much talk about rumors, and you see channels and creators outside of just like the HHN space talking about HHN rumors. You have channels talking about, I heard this from somebody that this is coming, and that's why I don't like to super talk about rumors, just because unless there's something like on a speculation map, or it's something that's been really talked about between multiple different people, and it's just kind of a general topic of conversation, then I'll chip in. But I'm not about to say, oh my God, my friend told me this, or I know this from this person, because I have team member friends that know about the event, and I'm not about to put their, if they tell me something in confidence, I'm not about to put their job in jeopardy just because I want to make content, just because I want to make a video about, oh my God, this is what's coming to the event. Like, for me, that's why I've gotten comments on this before. It's like, people love the deep dive videos, like the deep dive, the history videos, when I just come up with a topic and make a video about it. And it's kind of like a thing that a lot of people really enjoy those. And I've seen comments where people say like, oh, this is the reason why I'm subscribed, because you keep it entertaining. And whoa, what is going on with the light here? I'm gonna change the lighting a little bit, make it a little spookier. Anyway, actually make it there we go. Just like a basic lighting, because it's okay. Keeping it at red. Anyway, but it's like the idea of people saying, you know, I subscribe to your channel because you keep it exciting. You keep the hype going even when HHN isn't dropping anything. And like, I appreciate every comment and every, like I just wanted to say that, like every single comment y'all leave on any video, like, share, whatever, I appreciate it more than you know, as I kind of said when we were starting this off. But specifically those comments really get me to like sit back and think like, you know, those are the videos I'm most skeptical about. Those are the videos I'm most critical about. But I know those are the videos that I enjoy making the most. And those are the videos that it seems like most people enjoy watching the most. You know, like I get people that will watch the HHN update videos, but that's why I'm not trying to be a scooper. I'm not trying to be someone who's just gathering rumors. So anyway, that was more of a personal rant. But in general, I think the creators are kind of doing that marketing for them, are telling people about the event, are saying, here's what's happening at HHN this year. And I mean, if Universal, they say, hey man, okay, they're doing it for us. We don't need to put out a video every week saying, oh guys, come to Halloween Horror Nights. They already have it locked down. And now with Stranger Things and The Last of Us coming for sure, they already have it locked down. They don't have to announce no more houses. They could just do this and boom, it's over. You already have lines out the door. There's even, you know, I've heard people talk about what if it hits capacity and what are the crowds going to look like. And I'm sure that's might be what prompted them to add more dates. That I don't know if that's true, but it would make sense. You know, you have these huge IPs that are going to generate 2-hour lines and everything like that, which I think is good. If the originals have a little less of a line, that will be beneficial. But, you know, it is what it is. Let me go back to the chat because I've been kind of rambling for a little while. Let's see. Do you think we'll eventually get 11 houses? I think it'll happen at some point. I thought it was sincerely going to happen this year just because of the like capacity and the crowds at last year's event. Because I feel like there's a couple spaces that they could use for houses. There's one specific that most of you know, Men in Black tent, like that area. Like last year, I was surprised they didn't use that for a house. But, you know, I think at some point we will get 11. I don't know when. I don't know if that's going to be anytime soon. Just because if the budgets for these houses keep going up and the tickets then keep going up, I don't see where, you know, adding an 11th house, like it's just going to be more expensive. And I don't know if that's going to be happening anytime soon, but I think at some point they're going to have to expand out. Just because 10 houses at this moment, like last year, even with a year like last year that didn't really have, like it had a couple big IPs, but it didn't have a Stranger Things. It didn't have a Last of Us. You know, it was still most of the houses, even the originals in the back of the park, would carry those 50, 60-minute lines with standstill lines. So, you know, that's the thing. And that's what everybody's like, you know, a lot of people say, what about Islands of Fear? I mean, obviously I've talked about it, right? It's like, what if they do Islands of Fear again? But it's just that capacity thing. And it's just a confusing situation. And it's more for like the people that actually operate in this and get paid to think about this stuff. Like as fans, we could say, oh yeah, well, you could slap a house here, you could slap a house there, but it's like, we don't really know, you know, we don't really know the whole extent of the story. But if we're armchair, it's not armchair imagineering because we're talking about Horror Nights. If we're armchair haunt designing, right? Men in Black tent could be I think will be a good location for an 11th house. Something small scale. Nothing super huge. It's just like, you know, either a small IP, because that's the thing is like, I'm gonna go on a little bit of an IP rant. So just for a moment here. But it's like what sometimes the parks do normally with building all these huge major e-ticket attractions. That's great. But sometimes you need something a little smaller scale. Like, I know today the VillainCon attraction soft opened, and I wasn't there to experience it. I just didn't go out there today, and I will. But from what I've heard, generally, it's like it's a good time, but it's not like the must do. And I'm like, that's fine. Not everything needs to be Hagrid's. Not everything needs to be a Velocicoaster. Not everything needs to be a Rip Ride Rocket or a Mummy or whatever. And same thing with Horror Nights. Not everything needs to be a Stranger Things. Not everything needs to be a Last of Us. Not everything needs to be, a Halloween. Sometimes you can have your little House of a Thousand Corpses or your Killer Clowns from Outer Space or those smaller, but not like, they're not indie movies. They're movies and they're IPs that people know about, but they're not like the most major thing. So like that's the thing is if they were to do an 11th house, let's say if they were to do an 11th house and maybe add another IP, or like for this year, I think this year has got a decent balance, right? Because you have your big IPs. Chucky's kind of like I'd say Chucky's big, but the version of Chucky we're seeing is a little less known than like the original Child's Play. And that's why I'm sure like they're making it clear. This is sci-fi Chucky. This is not, we're not going back to Child's Play original. At least that's what we know of. Like they made it clear that this is based on the show. So I feel like that kind of moves it down a little bit in the sort of hierarchy of IPs, I guess. I don't know. I'm just rambling. And then you have something like Monsters, which is a good, like solid pick, a solid IP. Every one of those houses have been great, but it's not going to bring in people like Stranger Things is. But it's good to have that balance. Anyway, let's see. I think 10 is absolutely perfect. Yeah, we need more room. Where's Dr. Oddfellow? What happened? Are they even going to do something? And then we haven't heard anything in a while. I sincerely think he's going to get the Pumpkin Lord treatment, where he's going to be a character that comes into the event, but not like an icon. The Pumpkin Lord was there, but they didn't even really market him until the event started, really. Like, he was on all the merch. He had the scare zone, but it wasn't like the Pumpkin Lord is coming for this year. Like, get excited because it's the Pumpkin Lord. It was like, no, he's just here. He's hanging out. He'll do opening ceremonies and all that. So I very well could see Oddfellow as that sort of character where he has the house, maybe the horde, and that's it. And I'm sure we're going to see him on some merch. Maybe we'll get a little Studio Screamer figure of Oddfellow. I mean, I'd be down for that. But things like that. So, all rumors. Yeah, exactly. We have no clue what's actually happening behind the scenes. And that's kind of a part of the subject of the next video is like some of the concerns that people are having, like, oh, what about this and what about this? It's like, we don't know. Like, it's just speculation map. Like, Horror Night Nightmares, as right as they might be in some cases, and from what I understand, they're pretty, good source. They don't know everything, they don't, and they can't, and sometimes they can't tell us everything. They have to be a little mysterious about it. So, it's all just rumors. This year will be my first year doing the RIP tour. Have you done it before? I've never done the RIP tour. Are you doing RIP in Orlando? RIP in Orlando, right? Or Hollywood? Because I know it's different in both coasts. But if it's Orlando, I mean, either way, have a good time. That's really exciting because RIP tour, from what I've heard, it's pretty fun. You get that priority access to the houses and the guided tour. I know Hollywood, they have some other stuff added, like they have like a dinner and they have like a special like character moment. I think that's something with RIP in Orlando. Okay, well, still have a good time. I've never done it. I've only heard good things though, so I'm sure you'll have a good time. Halloween Horror Nights is always fun. Who is your favorite icon? That is a very loaded question because I have a few favorite icons. I'm trying to pick one. My inkling, my instinct is to say the director, just because he was kind of the character that got me into HHN lore. Because I remember hearing, like, obviously I knew about Jack and I knew about the caretaker, like very like loosely. I didn't really know what they were about when I first started getting into HHN lore. But the director was the first character that made me go, oh wow, this is kind of interesting. And I should dive into this lore and this the story, but the director. But I've really started to grow on the Usher, and I feel like the Usher. I like the story of the Usher and sort of the demeanor of the Usher a little more. I like his kind of, he's cold, but not in a way like the caretaker is, that he's super like menacing. Like he's kind of got like this, I don't know how to describe the Usher's just sort of presence. It's a very defined presence, and like that was the era of the icons when, like, I'm talking Carnival of Carnage, Reflections of Fear, ripped from the silver screen, 20 years. In that little period, they really took time to develop the icon backstories and like tie it in and do all these like riddles and Easter eggs and everything. And like with the website, like that's a thing that I really would love for them to bring back, some sort of HHN website or app or something to tie in the story for the characters, for the icons. And I think like the Usher's icon story, like it's very tragic, and it has this like kind of tragic quality to it that you're like, you kind of feel bad, but then you start to see like he's got this. I mean, it's ironically like this very Phantom of the Opera style story, right? He like kind of haunts the theater, and I like that the theater is its own sort of entity. So yeah, I really like the story of the Usher. But of course, you also gotta love Jack. You know, Jack's great. But I think my favorite right now is the Usher. If you were to ask me right now, it's the Usher, director in close second, and then probably Jack in third. If I was doing a ranking, I want them to do an HHN Icons show. Oh man, that would be excellent if they did an HHN Icons like an anthology show, like you said, Caden, like any kind of show. I've heard people say movie. I think movie would be a little. I think it would kind of restrict it. I feel like a show would be best for these characters because there is so much story and there's so much lore that you'd want to show. It's almost like, I feel like, and it's not as intense, but I feel like it almost has like a Five Nights at Freddy's quality where there's like so much lore and backstory and stuff that the fans would want them to include. Like it's not like something you can just leave out. Like especially when it comes to the characters like Jack, like really just Jack. Like Jack is the main guy. You can't mess up Jack. And I feel like Jack is the character that. And I saw a comment on the Icons video. It was like these are basically IPs for them, and that's true. Like I feel like look at HHN 30. That was the only original announcement that they did. Now, granted, it was an anniversary year, but like they treated Jack and the Icons like an IP. And I feel like Universal, like they know that Jack, especially, is like this character that is really fun and people love to see him. So I think do a really lore heavy, intense show with the characters. Oh yeah. That'll be really fun. How would you let's see. If it's a movie, it needs to be a series of films. Yeah, it would definitely have to be a series. It wouldn't be like just a one time. And here it says even Jack and Chance and Crow and Oddfellow. Oh yeah. Just that little section of characters like Shady Brook, Carrie, kind of. I feel like Carrie could be a good, like if they were to do like a Legendary Truth movie, that would be a good thing for Carrie. I feel like doing like a Legendary Truth series, like do it like a True Detective almost like kind of series with Legendary Truth and like Boris. Hey guys, that's not a bad idea. But doing the icons like Shady Brook, Carnival of Carnage, Oddfellow, that story, yeah, the HHNCU, that's a thing. Like there's so much, and there's so many cool ideas that are like singular ideas. Like something like even like Deadman's Pier is like this very singular story, but it's just very well constructed, and it creates this very specific mood that is really great. So, oh Harry, thank you for joining us. Yeah, I'm gonna be on for probably like an hour or so, maybe a little over an hour, just hanging out. Like I don't really have like a specific plan for this live stream. This is more just a Q&A talking about stuff. And if any, like I said, if any of you have questions about anything, HHN, me, the parks, whatever, leave them in the chat. Let's go back up a little bit because I got a question. How would you feel about an all year round haunted house at the parks, Universal Monsters? Okay, so if this is the Universal Monsters specific house, I think I could be excited about it. The only thing that I kind of gets me, and I feel like this is a thing that would restrict me from being as excited about it, partially because of Epic Universe, right? That there's that rumored Universal Monsters land coming to that park. And I feel like that's a much better way to explore the monsters, in my opinion. I feel like you can do a lot more with that. Now, let's say if they were to include a haunted house in that land, yeah, that might be pretty cool. But I feel like part of what I love about HHN is that it's temporary, right? And it changes all the time. And that's, I think, what gets us so excited about HHN as specifically is that there's so much excitement that comes for it, and it only is around for 2 months, and then it's over. And then you got to get excited for next year. So I wouldn't really like. I don't think I'd be mad if they did like a full-on haunted house year round, but I feel like it would kind of lessen the effect of Horror Nights a little bit. I don't know if there's anybody who's a Hollywood visitor, anyone who goes to Hollywood. Let me know how you feel or how you felt about like The Walking Dead, for example, because that's like a good example. Or if you remember House of Horrors before The Walking Dead, like anything like that. Like I feel like you would have more experience answering this question. Like, is it the same? You know, like I plan on visiting the Horror Unleashed, the Vegas thing that opens. I'm planning on visiting that, but I'm not like, I don't live in Vegas, so it's not like I'd be going there all the time. But then again, like people say that about the parks, like, oh, how can you go to Universal all the time? It's like, yeah, I just enjoy going, and I'm lucky enough that I can go. But I enjoy just going and hanging out. So I don't know. I feel like it would be quite interesting. But then again, sometimes even when I'm at HHN, I don't do the houses. Like I don't just go and run and marathon houses. Sometimes I just hang out in the zones, taking the ambiance, you know, hit up the tribute store, just chill and hang out at the event. And that's, I think, one of the best parts about it. So I don't know how I'd feel about if they did a full-on haunted house, but if they did like a monsters, like in the style of the new ones, I think it would be cool. It would be cool. I don't know if I'd love it, but it would be cool. I have family like 30 minutes from Cary, so I could see it at a theater there. That would be crazy. Like, imagine if they did a movie and then they did the premiere in freaking Cary, Ohio. Like, that would be wild. That would be absolutely wild. There's something so exciting about uncovering 10 new full attractions for 2 months. Yeah, like that's part of it. Is like, you know, I know that people get excited for returning mazes in. I guess, are they mazes in something like Howl-O-Scream? You know, like Howl-O-Scream, are they mazes of houses? Whatever. The attractions at Howl-O-Scream, for example, that they bring them back. Like I know a Blood Beckoning, right? That's the house that just got announced for Howl-O-Scream. I'm planning on going to Howl-O-Scream. I'm not really well versed in it. Like I know a little bit about some of the characters they have, but I'm not super well versed in Howl-O-Scream. But I'm gonna go this year, make some videos on it. But for example, like I know people do get excited about Howl-O-Scream returning houses, but I feel like there's something so cool about 10 brand new houses, even if they were, you know, not all IP. Like that's the thing, is that's why I feel like the originals impress me so much, because you have these ideas that feel so fleshed out that you're like, this is crazy that they built this or they put this together in, you know, this didn't take 5 years to make. You know, I mean, maybe it did. Maybe the concept took time to develop, but like you have this thing. It's not like, you know, some of these attractions that take 5 or 6 years to build, and they, you know, by the time they come around, you're like, okay, like, all right, whatever. But like you get all these brand new, super fleshed out ideas every year. Like that's super incredible. And that's the thing with me, is like, I know some people sort of find the story based houses or like the more scenic houses a little more, I don't know, they don't really find them as impressive. And I mean, I like them. I love scenic houses, even if it's just, you know, even if it's not super scary. Like something like Demon's Pier wasn't one that really freaked me out a lot, but I did enjoy going through that one. So that was kind of a circle rant. I didn't really directly answer the question right away, but yeah. Let's jump down to, what ride are you most excited for in Epic Universe? Okay. I guess I just say the Monster Kuga arm, right? If that's actually happening, if the Monsters Kuga arm is actually what everything is cracked up to be, I love Universal Monsters. I love Forbidden Journey. Forbidden Journey is one of my favorite rides ever. It's my favorite ride at Islands of Adventure. Sometimes it's my favorite ride in Universal at large, right? Sometimes it's just it might be my favorite ride just depending on the day I ride it. But you know, they take a Universal Monsters spin on that. Less screens, from what I heard, is more like animatronic based or like physical set based. And then you have you know, the IP, the Universal Monsters. Like that's just super exciting for me as someone who, you know, loves the Universal Monsters and loves the classic interpretation of the monsters. As much as I love the new ones, and I really can get excited about the new ones at HHN, I love the classic monsters. So the fact that that's supposed to be what we're getting for this ride as like the headline attraction for the Monsters Land, sign me up. Sign me up. Because like the Monsters Land in general is what's exciting me the most about Epic Universe. Unsurprisingly, right? Because, you know, I make Horror Nights videos. So it's not too weird. But the Harry Potter, the Ministry of Magic ride also interests me a lot. That does intrigue me because there's some stuff in there that I'm like, how are they going to put that together? Like the rumors and the sort of like discussion about like the plans for this ride and how impressive it's going to be. It's like Rise of the Resistance. I feel like that's the thing with like Rise of the Resistance, right? Everybody's like, oh my God, this ride completely changed and nobody really saw it coming, that it would completely change the industry in that way, or change dark rides at least. But I feel like that's what could happen with this Harry Potter. And I really feel like this Harry Potter ride is going to be like the Rise of the Resistance, like it's going to actually say, hey, we're going to give Rise of the Resistance a run for its money. Because what was the one that they, so like Hagrid's, not really. Like Hagrid's is its own thing. You know, Velocicoaster, you can't really compare a lot of the newer Universal rides to, or even Mario Kart. I think Mario Kart's the one a lot of people compare to Rise of the Resistance as like the big next new dark ride. It's like, no, it's not. Like, I don't feel like anybody really finds the comparison there as super accurate. But this Harry Potter ride, with the sort of, you know, the rumored sets and the scale of it, and the fact that they're going to be character animatronics and like those things like that sounds a lot more like Rise of the Resistance to me. So that one I'm really excited for. The Dragons, yes. How to Train Your Dragon stuff is exciting. I'm excited for everything in Epic Universe. Really, it's like the potential is there to create something truly remarkable, and I'm just pumped. So, really excited for the Dueling Coaster. Yeah, the Dueling Coaster, that looks crazy. I'm not like a huge coaster guy, but that Dueling Coaster looks wild, and the Werewolf Coaster too, the spinning one. Very curious on how that's going to be, especially with a ride like a Cosmic Rewind. I feel like I don't like to like constantly make this comparison between Disney and Universal and saying like, oh, this ride is the answer to this, but it's like the spinning Werewolf Coaster. I feel like this is kind of taking some of the influence from Cosmic Rewind or like something from it, and maybe saying, let's try our own spin on that. Not like a direct competition, but more of like, this is like a very new state of the art idea. Let's try it out and put our own spin on it. So anyway, any headcanons for the icons? I'm trying to think of like what, I don't really know if I have a whole lot of, I did see a theory about Cindy Kane being Chance. That's a wild one. It was like Cindy Kane grew up to be Chance. And I don't know. I saw that on a forum somewhere and I thought about making a video on that because I was like, it's very strange and interesting, but strange sort of storyline or connection. And there's like, I don't remember all of what the ties were, like how they were able to justify that claim. But no, I also think like it's less of headcanons and it's more like what I think has happened. Like I feel like there's stuff that could be filled in. Like, okay, for those who haven't seen, I did make a HHN Dream Map video. And that video, I had a director house and an usher house. And more on the usher house, I was just thinking, like, I feel like there's been more attacks on the Palace Theater than we know about. I feel like there's more stuff to learn about something like the Palace Theater, you know, than what we have seen in just general HHN lore, what we've already seen from past events. So I don't really have as much in regards of headcanon, but more like there's, I think, spots that I personally can fill in, but I don't know if it's like anything super specific. But the Chance and Cindy Kane one, that's a little interesting one. Question for you, not answering this one. How would you feel about different anime and manga titles being HHN, Demon Slayer? I think it's fine as long as they're horror, like Tokyo Ghoul or Junji Ito. Something like Demon Slayer wouldn't fit my personal opinion. Yeah, I think Junji Ito would be a good one, right? Because that's like super well known for having this horrifying imagery. And I think that would be like a perfect fit. I'm not someone who objects really to anything in terms of IPs, at least idea wise. Like, could it be something that completely flops in execution stage? Yeah. Like, for example, I know I mentioned that I talked about the Billie Eilish house, and I was like, I'm not the biggest Billie Eilish fan, but I mean, it could have worked. It could have worked. It could have flopped. Any one of these ideas could have worked, could have flopped. There are IPs that are super well known horror classics that flop, that just don't really work for me or for others or whatever, just because of something about them. Like, it might not be anything on the part of the HHN team or creative team or whatever. It's like it just might not lend itself well to a house or a zone or whatever. Yeah, so it works as a scare zone. It could be cool if they do it right. Yeah, that's the thing with like certain things. First of all, not everything needs to be a house. Sometimes you can put stuff in scare zones. Like, personally, I'm a big fan of Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I love that movie. And I remember watching this HHN 28 like roundtable, and they were discussing like putting putting Killer Clowns as a scare zone for that year, and how the importance of that, because that movie takes place mostly in the town, and like the most fun parts of that movie take place in Crescent Cove. And I feel like that like makes sense. Like, I feel like if they were to do a full-on Killer Clowns scare zone, like full on, like maybe a Hollywood or New York scare zone, New York probably would be best. I feel like that would be perfect, right? I think it might be better than the house because it lends itself better to a scare zone. So not everything has to be a house. And some things are better as houses than as scare zones. Some things are better as scare zones than as houses. For me, with any IP, whether it be, a movie, a TV show, a book, like, I'm open to really anything, just taking a chance on it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, But yeah, I totally think that manga, anime, if it fits in, I'm not sure how Demon Slayer would have worked out, but Junji Ito especially, that one was definitely a good one that I think could lend itself well. Next question we have: has animation been represented in Halloween Horror Nights? I don't know. I'm trying to think if animation specifically has been represented. I don't think so. I think I have no clue. I can't even think of because like animated horror is something that is also like pretty rare. Like, from what I see, like mainstream animated horror is not something you see all the time. There's only one property that I think of it like an animated property that could work as a really fun and definitely not super scary, but definitely a very fun, it's like a scare zone, Over the Garden Wall. That I think will be a great street or something. Like, I think as a house, it might not work, but as a street, I think like Pottstown and the Dark Forest and like a lot of the set pieces from that program, from that show, I don't know, I said like a program, the show, the series has this like great retro Halloween feel, a lot like last year. It had that same kind of vibe as like last year's traditional classic Halloween. So I feel like that will be, I think, a good property that's mainstream enough. Like, I feel like there's enough people that can be into Over the Garden Wall. A lot more people have heard about it since it came out. But yeah, in the chat, any animated properties, that's a good question. I don't think I've seen any. It says Creepshow had an animated opening. I was thinking Creepshow because I was kind of thinking comics, and like I was like, does Creepshow count? So I guess Creepshow counts, but I guess Creepshow counts. Not sure, but that is a good question. Animated houses. I think that's the Real Ghostbusters. I don't think the Real Ghostbusters have been at the event. Have they been? I don't think so. I don't think they've been. I know they've obviously done Ghostbusters, but I don't know if they've done the real Ghostbusters, but the real Ghostbusters. That's pretty interesting. I don't know, but that would be an interesting one. Although I feel like that's a little too child friendly. I mean, some people could say Over the Garden Wall is the same way, but like, I feel like the real Ghostbusters is really like it's more of a, I don't know, because like kids don't watch the real Ghostbusters. I feel like it's more of like the kids that watched it as kids at the time it came out now are like adults. So I don't know. Interesting. More streams in the near future. Yeah, I want to do more. I want to do one of these like every month. I had a list of things to talk about that I was like, oh, let's talk about Stranger Things, and then I want to do like Q&A, and I wanted to do like talk about the channel, the future of the channel, and then things happen. We just start talking about HHN and stuff. So but yeah, no, this is a good time. This is a good time just talking, chatting. And if anybody has any more questions or topics, that would be good. But I guess I could talk about future of the channel stuff because I do have some plans. I did talk a little bit about them, and because I've had people ask me like, what are you doing for Horror Nights? Like, are you planning on doing more videos? Obviously, Horror Nights videos, and it's even going to get crazier as time goes on, as we get closer and closer to the event. I want to do these. I have the video planned for tomorrow or Monday, probably tomorrow. It's going to be this roundup update. Like, hey, construction started in the park, and also like multi-night tickets dropped and things of that nature. And I want to like put all that stuff together and like make this sort of 10-15 minute talk every couple weeks or whenever there's a few minor stories, but nothing that warrants a full-on video. Like, obviously announcements get their own, but I definitely want to do vlogs once Horror Nights kicks off. Doing some vids out at the park, doing some collabs with other YouTubers, just trying new stuff, trying all kinds of stuff. But then I also have, like I said, I want to do some Howl-O-Scream. I did get like the two night ticket, it's the Mayhem sale they did, like $30 for each ticket. So I had to buy two. So I was like, well, I'll buy two and I'll do 2 videos at Howl-O-Scream. So just to see what that event's like. Let me just readjust here. And then like the HHN deep dives, more of those. I have a couple of those coming, but they might get lost in the just mania of HHN 32 coverage. So those will be coming when they come. And I don't try to rush those out anyway, because I feel like that will make them not as good. So I try to take my time with those. Let's see. I've already been asked this, but who would you consider the most underrated icon? I feel like all of them have kind of been getting, like, for a while, right? It was like Eddie. And it's like, oh, Eddie's the underrated icon. But no, he got a scare zone. He's had time. He's had a scare zone. I don't feel like Eddie's super underrated anymore. Cindy, too. I guess Cindy's like the closest thing, but I feel like she's also like pretty well known in the HHN sphere. Like, most people know her and know the story and know how she wasn't an icon. And then they tried it again and it didn't work. Personally, I think Fear is pretty underrated because, like, other than him just being there, most people don't really know his story. Most people don't really know where he came from. And, I don't feel like he really got that full. I don't think he got that moment that he deserved, personally, if you ask me. But I think Nathaniel Crowe is another one that I personally love, but I wouldn't really say it because he's not really a real icon because he wasn't fully developed. But Nathaniel Crowe would be an interesting one. That's a theory. Okay, headcanon theory is, could Nathaniel Crowe be the Pumpkin Lord? Or like be related to the Pumpkin Lord? Just food for thought. I don't know if that's correct. That was just boom. I just thought about that right now. But
but just keep that in mind. Maybe that can be a discussion. Do you think Chucky House will get puppets? Yeah, 100%. Because I think Murdy has said that Hollywood's is getting puppets. So I feel like it would have to be the same in Orlando, right? Or at least like some puppets. Just because Chucky, like the last time they really tried to do Chucky in a costume, it didn't really had this like uncanny vibe to it, where it was like, I can tell you're a person, you know, like it was a good attempt, but I don't know if they really like they nailed it with the 28 scare zone where they had Chucky there in the box, but doing it where he's not like in the box, you know, he can be kind of roaming around, not like roaming around, but like popping out, you know, but doing that same kind of style. And I think if we are getting him in Fast and Furious, I think definitely in that middle section, they're going to have Chucky out there doing something, whether it's going to be roasting people, whether it's going to be doing the kill count on the show, doing the kill count in between season 1 and 2, right? That's just a thought. It's just the theory, but definitely puppets for Chucky. Puppets and animatronics. I feel Bone is underrated. Yeah, Bone is underrated. Okay, he never really got like. I think that's why they didn't do Oddfellow and they didn't like go out and do Oddfellow because Bone, like they put a lot of stock into Bone. Like they put him on everything. They put him on the T-shirt. They put him on the mugs. They put him in the posters. They said, Bone, this is our newest icon. Get excited about him, and nobody cared, and like no one cared about Bone, and now he's relegated to. Yeah, let's throw him in here. Let's put an Easter egg of him in this house for the hardcore fans that remember HHN 27. But it's like, yeah, that's a good one. Bone is underrated, and I wish they would give him something like do some kind of like lore, like fill in the lore of Bone. Like, what's he doing? Why does he have all these women hanging around him? Like what's the deal? What's the story? Because I mean, they gave him a story, but it really wasn't. Come on. I feel like that's why they're being kind of wishy-washy with the icons now, or icons, because Bone just didn't work. Scream should definitely get a house. Yep. 100% agree. Scream should definitely get a house. And I'm someone who thinks that Scream 6 would make a really interesting house. Now, obviously, if you were to do Scream, you'd have to do the original, right? That was kind of the whole point the last time. That was like, you want to keep the original look, keep the original vibe of that first movie that everyone loves. You know, it's a horror classic. But Scream 6 had some cool scenes. Everything involving the ghost face, like his like the lair with all the like little props and things. Really fun for Easter eggs. Could be great in like an almost like a mirror maze kind of scare where you have ghost faces everywhere and you don't know which one's real. That would be really fun scene. The subway thing, like that would be really cool, going through the bodega, because they even created that like experience over in what was it, in California, where they like recreated some of the scenes from the movie, and it felt almost like a Horror Nights experience, like a Horror Nights house. So Scream, the original, yes, but also Scream 6. It's not. I think there's some interesting scenes in there. I don't think they'd ever do Scream 6 out of all the movies, but you know, I'm just saying I like it. Favorite HHN merch. So do you mean like specific merch item, or like a type of item, or something that I have, like favorite piece of HHN merch that I own? Let me know. Do you know Hollywood Harry from Hollywood? What's your opinion on him? I think he's pretty cool. Obviously they've been giving him a lot of love. Like he had the Terror Tram last year. I think he's doing good. I think he can be like a good icon for them. I don't know if he's ever going to reach that like Jack status. Cause he kind of feels like they're triad of Jack, but he's cool. I like him. I hope he gets a house or something, or maybe he becomes like an icon and hosts an event. You know, Hollywood Harry, pretty cool character. If the Scream House somehow got meta, it could be a bit funny. Yeah, I think it could be funny. I think it could be funny, but not like in a comedy way. Like, you know, like Scream is a meta like commentary on horror, and I feel like you could do like you could almost make the house like a commentary on Horror Nights houses. Now I don't know if that would go over everybody's head or not, but you know, like you make it some kind of like meta commentary on Horror Nights and kind of the style of houses they do. Like I said, the mirror maze would be a great example because that's something they love to do at Horror Nights. I wouldn't be surprised if Chucky, they do some kind of mirror maze scare with Chucky just because of the all like the doll boxes. I know that's been talked about as like a cool idea if they were to do that. So yeah. Do you think they do more artist houses? Yeah. So like the Weeknd, I think the Weeknd did open the door for sure. I mean, obviously they've done like they did Black Sabbath over in Hollywood. They did Alice Cooper here. They've done like personality houses. They did like who was it? It was the Penn and Teller house, like stuff like that. So I think artist houses. Now I don't know who they would do, but I think that could be. It would obviously have to be someone really big, and that has that sort of that horror vibe. I mean, I heard Lady Gaga being talked about, and I think Lady Gaga could be an interesting one. I think that she would be. I feel like she'd be down to do it. Like I feel like she would be down to create something really cool and trippy and unique, like the Weeknd did. Although I would love to just see the Weeknd again. I mean, I love the Weeknd house. Could be my favorite house of last year. It's really between three. It's really between Demon's Pier, Weeknd, and Chupacabra. Chupacabra is mad underrated. A very underrated house, in my opinion. But the Weeknd was great. So if the Weeknd was just the beginning, I'm very excited to see what's next with the artist houses, or like music-based houses, or just celebrity-based houses. Okay, something you have. So going back to the merch question, oh man, that is a very hard question. I think I really like HHN shirts. Obviously, I wear HHN shirts a lot in the videos, and I have this. I found a really cool Islands of Fear shirt in pretty good condition. I wore it in a video. That's an item that I really like that I have. I have the. Hold on, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's right under me, so I'm just gonna pull it out. I got the Legendary Truth vinyl from last year. This year, oh yeah, this is a good time. I love when they do stuff like this, and like cool vinyls, and I love that they do, you know, when they do stuff like that that's like unique, you know, like as much as like I said, I love the shirts and I love pins. I love collecting pins too. But I like when they do unique stuff. So yeah, those are some of my favorites. I really love the Pumpkin Lord shirt from last year though. And like I said, there's so much Horror Nights merch that I have. It's hard to pick one. Hard to pick one favorite. So a few of my favorites. Hollywood Harry's the second best Harry. That's true. How do you feel about Jack's representation at HHN Singapore? It's pretty limited, right? Like they haven't really done Jack a whole lot. But you know, he's pretty cool. I like that they did. I like that they've been adding him more, although Singapore, in my opinion, has some pretty cool like icon characters already. So I mean, they don't really need to do Jack, but again, goes back to my previous point about Jack being this like super major character that everybody knows, everybody loves, you know, and they're willing to bring it. I mean, they brought him to Hollywood. They brought the director to Hollywood too, in a weird twist, but they brought Jack to Hollywood. So, you know, like they've been bringing those characters. They've shopped Jack around to multiple parks. So I'm not too surprised. Thoughts of this merch idea? So Stranger Things season 4 house is happening. They can make a Hellfire Club shirt that says Hollywood Horror Nights. That if that were to happen, Netflix and the IPs are really strict on that. No, I'm not. I think they're going to make a Hellfire Club shirt, absolutely. But if it was like an HHN Hellfire Club shirt, that would be very impressive. I would love that, Ricardo. That would be a great. I would buy that shirt, 100%. 100%. I would make, because I thought about making a Dreamport production shirt like that, but I'm like, no, that would get me instantly sued. Netflix will be knocking at my door before I can even post that shirt. They might play jazz in the Devil Guitar House since it would be based off a jazz musician. I hope so. I see that house really makes me think of like Dead Waters. Like I feel like that house is gonna have very big Dead Waters vibes. just in the vibe, and I'm not sure where we're gonna be, because like I've heard like Mississippi and or like somewhere in the deep south, but like I'm not sure exactly what state we're gonna be in, so that would definitely depend on like the kind of music we see. But like I feel like it's gonna have that same very like old school vibe, older songs playing in the background, and create that atmosphere. So yeah, definitely I think jazz is gonna be in that 100%, in that Crossroads house. Hello, your content is amazing. If I don't see you later, I love your work. Congrats. Okay, thank you, Chemo Dog. Thank you. I always see you on the comments, so thank you for leaving all the comments. And thank you for coming on the chat and hanging out on the stream. Artist wise, who would you like to see? Lady Gaga was one that I said wouldn't be a bad one. I don't know who I'd like to see. I would like them to do like director-based houses. Like I think that would be pretty cool, but not like director-based houses like, oh, let's go into the movies of, you know, John Carpenter, or let's go into the movies of, you know, George Romero. But like, let's do like let's do some modern directors first of all, but let's do like a traveling into their mind kind of idea, like Jordan Peele. Like a Jordan Peele house, not based on Us, not based on Nope, not based on Get Out, like a Jordan Peele original house, or it's just like his imagination and the kind of crazy stuff. And maybe you can have some appearances from those properties, but it's not like, you know, it's not like a let's go recreate the famous scenes from those properties, but like a Jordan Peele sort of twisted mind psyche house would be crazy. Guillermo del Toro too. I feel like because he had the Cabinet of Curiosities, and I know he didn't direct all of those, but like I said, like that, that idea, like curating these sort of characters, the stories, the set pieces, maybe pulling like from his Bleak House or pulling from his notebooks and like pulling the monsters out of his mind and putting them into a house. That would be what I'd be all over that. So things like that. I mean, they did it with like Edgar Allan Poe, right? They did like the Nevermore house. And that house was really interesting and I think pretty underrated. Doing like a writer-based house, you know, like thinking about that, you know, music artists is kind of hard for me to pull from exactly. I mean, I'd like to see like an Iron Maiden house would be pretty cool, but a lot of like the metal bands, I feel like everybody says like metal bands. So I was trying to think of like some other ideas. Let's see. Besides HHN Fog, what's your favorite scent from HHN? And your least favorite? Least favorite is whenever they do like feces or like rotting flesh. Like what? Like I get the ambiance, the atmosphere, but like, come on, guys! Like they did that rotting flesh smell in Legends Collide, and they also did something like that in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's gross. I mean, of course, everybody knows the infamous smell from Psychoscarapy, right? Like, you know, like why are we doing that? But favorite smell, I liked the smell. I think it was a Killer Clowns that had like a cotton candy smell. Trying to think of the pine smell from Bugs. That's one that was really, really good. That one was a very nice smell. So I say the pine smell from Bugs. That's the first one that's coming to mind. It's like a smell that I love, and also just like pumpkin smell. Like I love the smell of pumpkins. I have pumpkin wax melts that I light all the time. So I think pumpkins, whenever they do pumpkins in houses, so I think they did it in Wicked Growth, right? I think they did pumpkins in there. That's a good smell. That one and the pine smell from Bugs. Those are the two that I'm liking. I'm sick. Yeah, Jordan Peele, Guillermo del Toro, Hereditary. Hereditary is one that gets brought up a lot. A lot of people love the Hereditary and want to see Hereditary in the house. For me, I kind of like a little. Like I personally would be excited. Like I think it'd be cool if they did like a Horrors of A24, like almost like a Blumhouse style house where they put together a couple movies. Because Hereditary is, I don't think it's a house that would work super great as a horror nights house. I think it's a great movie, and I think it's almost like The Exorcist, right? It's like it's this IP that I don't think works for the event as much as like it's a great movie. But I think The Exorcist not The Exorcist, Hereditary could be a good house if it was like paired with something else. Almost like what they did with Insidious, right? It's like Insidious, it can stand by itself, but like it's, you know, they paired it with other stuff too. So I think that one could be fun if they paired it with like Midsommar. I think that would be a good like pairing, because Midsommar's got that, like, it's a completely different identity. I think The Witch will be another scary A24. That would be a really actually kind of a freaky one. And it sounds like we might have a house kind of like that this year, like The Witch. So that would be an interesting one. And then, I mean, X and Pearl, great. I think those would really work as haunted houses, but it might kind of retread the Texas Chainsaw Massacre format. So I don't know if that would work as well. I feel like it might be a little repetitive, but I feel like it could be a good time. So, and I'm not sure how they would be able to explain that one. I mean, I know they did it for From Dusk Till Dawn. They covered up the sign on the club to make it a little more friendly to more audiences, but I'm not sure how they'd be able to explain that with X. Maybe bad idea, but maybe Gorillas could make a good music artist house, director house. However, maybe Sam Raimi. Yes, Sam Raimi house. Yes, if you did, like, I feel like you could do a house just of the Raimi-isms, like the things that Raimi puts in every movie, like the POV cam, and I like how they did that. I think it was Evil Dead in 2013 that did that, or was it Ash? It was one of the ones that they put like a POV, like they tried to do the POV cam from Evil Dead and put it as a house. I put it in the house as like a screen. That would be really interesting. I mean, I would love for them to bring Evil Dead, but doing like, a possession scene and like just kind of like the little one-liners that Raimi likes to include in his movies. Yeah, I think that would be pretty interesting. Adding some stuff from Evil Dead, maybe adding some stuff from Drag Me to Hell. I think that'd be pretty interesting. Multiverse of Madness, but Disney would not let that happen. Let's see. What is one house you'd be excited to be for if they brought it back again? Slaughter Cinema. That's an easy one. No, but like I really would be excited if they brought Slaughter Cinema back, just because it's a really fun house. It's campy, but it also had some pretty decent scares in it, and it's a really fun house. And I love the IP. I love the idea. It's a really beloved house, and I feel like everybody would love it if they just brought it back, like American Werewolf style, just brought it back. But I mean, if I were to bring back Slaughter Cinema, I would do it. I do some different movies. I'd maybe add some stuff. I would make it a holiday special. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Dream Map video. It's in there. We'll do a few more questions, and then I'll probably end it. If you have any more questions, a couple more, just because we are hitting like an hour and 15 minutes. So, maybe try to go for like an hour and a half. Another probably 15 minutes. What to talk about in the meantime? Well, so this is a thing that I've been thinking about. I've been wanting to make a few more Disney videos. I haven't really made a whole lot of them. Obviously, these would be very sporadic and more like on the history side, like a lot more like my deep dive videos that I do on HHN and Universal. I'm gonna want to do more Disney ones. Just because I've been thinking about it. Like I have a Haunted Mansion video idea of like the Haunted Mansion is my favorite ride of all time. Like it is. Again, are you surprised? I like the spooky things. I like haunted houses. So the Haunted Mansion is a fun time for me. It's very calming in there. But yeah, no, I've wanted to do a Haunted Mansion themed video, and I think it'd be really fun. So yeah, that was just the thing I was just thinking about. I was like, oh yeah, I think I do want to make some more Disney videos. So if there's any like topics on that, then if there's any topics that anybody wants to see like anything specific, then let me know. Like I said, I'm looking more for the history side because I mean, like I love Disney history. I love theme park history just in general, not just Disney, not just Universal. And that's the thing too, is like there's people that make this like big, oh my God, they're, I like this and I can't like this. I like this, but I'm not supposed to like this. It's like, I like them both. I have a good time with them both. So, I'm still going to make HHN videos. I'm still going to make Universal videos. That's still going to be my focus because I know you all love them. I love to make them. Halloween, every day is Halloween here at Dreamport Productions headquarters. So, that's how it's going to go. But, maybe if I make some spooky Disney videos. How about that? How about that? Looks like a good compromise. Anyway, final closing question from me, from Harry. If you could go back in time, change one thing from any HHN event, doesn't matter when, what it would be, and why. 30. I go back to 30, and I guess I would change the thing of like making the streets more interactive. And I know why they couldn't do that is because of COVID. But if you're giving me the full access to anything that I could do, I would make the scare zones more interactive. I feel like Seek and Destroy was fine in that regard. I mean, it wasn't. I didn't love that scare zone personally. Lights, Camera, Action was another one that was like it was pretty good. But 30 Years of Fear and Crypt TV really suffered from the COVID protocols. Really suffered. Really Crypt TV more than any of them because it just felt like, okay, we're great. We're watching the sets and it's more like a museum than it is like a scare zone. So I feel like more actors in the streets of 30, that would probably be it. I mean, like, now I'm thinking about scare zones because part of me wants to change a lot of the scare zones in general. But I mean, I guess more interactive scare zones at 30, I feel like would have rounded it out. I feel like that's kind of a thing that you look back on it and you're like, oh yeah, it reminds us of us being in COVID. So I don't. I think that's a good one that I would do. Tower of Terror vid would be cool. Yeah, So for those who don't know, for those who haven't been with the channel forever, if you haven't been with the channel, if you subscribed anytime within 2022, you probably won't remember, but I started out as a Disney channel, like specifically like Disney videos, right? And only Disney videos. But I had been planning a Tower of Terror video. Like I was like, oh man, I have this Tower of Terror video in the drafts. Like I have this thing going. And that's what happens with a lot of these videos. Like the perfect HHN map took 2 months to really draft, to write it out, to come up with the details that I wanted to share. I was like, even at the point of drawing facades, and I was like, I was like really getting into it. But it's like that, like sometimes these videos take a while. The Icons video was another one that took like months to finish just because I had the idea and then I started tweaking it. So my point in saying that is that I have a Tower of Terror video in the draft, so I might have to revisit that, Harry. Also, thank you for your last question. I really do appreciate that. And everybody who's asked questions this whole time, anybody who's been in the stream, I appreciate the questions. Speaking of questions, we have have you seen the autopsy of Jane Doe? Me and my family watch it. They did not want to sleep afterwards. I've never seen it. I've heard it's very freaky, but I've not actually watched it. So I'll have to watch that one. I'm someone who's like I love horror movies. But I'm relatively new to like horror films. Like for a long time I was so scared of horror movies. Like I don't know what it was because it was just like I don't know. It's like something like for me, that's the thing with gore, in my opinion, is like it's hard for me to watch gore in movies, but I can go to Halloween Horror Nights and look at it in front of my eyes and be like, yeah, this is pretty cool. Like I could see these kills, but like when I watch the movie, I don't know if it's because it's like of the way it's shot or whatever, but like gore, like that's like just one example. I don't know if Autopsy of Jane Doe has a lot of gore in it, but like like I'll watch movies with gore, but like something like Terrifier is hard for me to stomach just because of like the gore in there, and it's like sometimes it's like I get it's supposed to be kind of funny, but like usually, and it's funny because I like the first horror movie I saw was Evil Dead 2, and that movie has like a lot of ridiculous gore in it, so that's why that movie is really close to me. That's why I love that film. Not because of the gore, but because it was like the first one I saw. Yeah. So, yeah, Disney videos, like I said, it's not something that I'm just going to start dropping. I'm going to say, okay, Universal, you're done. Horror Nights, it's over. We're going to be just full on Disney videos. It's just something like if I have an idea of like, oh man, I want to make this one-off video, I think it'd be kind of fun to do, or something I've always wanted to talk about on the channel. And that's the thing with Universal in general too. Is like I've kind of dipped my toe in the Universal history videos. I haven't made too many of them, and I want to make more of them. It's just right now with HHN, it's just HHN all the time, and it's just there's so much stuff coming out that it's hard for me to really to do a whole lot else video wise. So, So yeah, I plan on. I have a couple like Universal, just general Universal Parks videos. Obviously, when I get to do VillainCon, that will be included in a video. I know you're not supposed to be able to film on the ride. Like, it's this thing is people have already put POVs up on YouTube, and I'm like, guys, they said like they made it clear, do not film on the ride. Like, it's not like it was a mystery, But again, people are going to do it. It's just like it's more about who's first to do it, and they're going to get all the views. I haven't watched it because I don't want to be spoiled. I want to experience it myself, but what have you. But yeah. But yeah, definitely more videos coming. I'm trying to think if there's any like other near future things that I want to talk about. Well, that video is coming tomorrow. I keep saying tomorrow. I've said it like a bunch of times, like, oh, tomorrow it's coming out. It's probably going to be tomorrow, like more probably tomorrow night, because I still have to edit parts of it, but it's coming along. And that's the thing. A lot of my videos, like the filming process is very messy. Like I don't like, sometimes like I see people that will literally film a video and then pretty much leave it like untouched for the most part, and just make little cuts here and there and be like, all right, this is good. And this is a good video. And it is a good video. And you're like, I'm like, wow. Like for me, it takes like, that's why I love like adding all the fun little transitions and edits and stuff to make my videos better. And I always want to just do whatever to make the videos as best as I can. So, okay. So yeah, if nobody has any more questions, I think we might just call it here. It's 9:30. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for everyone who's still on the stream, everyone who came on the stream, everyone who left the stream. And I want to thank you again for subscribing to the channel and leaving comments on the videos and showing love to the videos. It really does mean a lot. Like I said in the beginning, but like it really does mean a lot. And I'm going to do these streams. I want to do these streams like once a month, or once every couple weeks or something. If there's something big to talk about, like I know I was like, oh, we're going to do Stranger Things. And then we didn't talk about Stranger Things, but whatever, if there's something big to talk about, if there's something exciting or just whatever, I do want to do more streams, and it'll be a little more perfected. This was just the first time. I've never done a live stream before. So forgive me for being kind of all over the place today. But anyways, thank you all for tuning in, and I hope you all have a good night. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video, everybody. Okay. Let's end it. Let's go.